Welcome to a presentation by 8 Degrees of Yes, the Belief Life Structure, Second Amendment, and Life in California from my perspective. From the author of 8 Degrees of Yes, My Experiences with Truth, Transformation, and Healing, available on Amazon. Audiobook, copyright 2020 Covenant Books, by Dr. Truth Akins, EDD, the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. Belief Life Structure, Second Amendment History. My Perspective. Episode 1, Review of History from My Worldview. History from my individual perspective and identity. Erickson's 1959-1980 definition of identity. Identity in relationship to how one fits into society is created at the end of adolescence, Erickson 1980, during school experiences, social interactions with others, and interactions with authority. In restorative justice, one's identity is not given to them by others, thus only the individual can tell others who they are. This is the power of I statements, because people are always speaking from their own perspective. History from my individual perspective and identity using 4 categories. Culture, rights and freedoms as a foundational North American, English, German speaker, Christian, non-Gentile, Eastern, African, Jew. Political, rights and freedoms as a Black, Indigenous, Jew, European, West culture. Social, rights and freedoms as a woman, economic, head of household. 8 Degrees of Yes. Belief, life structure, Second Amendment culture, rights and freedoms as a foundational American, English, German speaker. First and foremost, I have vowed to be a Christian minister. I have vowed to defend the U.S. Constitution. So when I see issues, I am bound to share it with the community that I represent. Culturally, I represent a conservative Northern American United States citizen living in the state of California. Of case law and federal power over gun laws. Lopez versus the U.S. in 1995 had defined restrictions under the Commerce Clause for guns near schools, but was later realized as far removed in Congress's enumerated power to regulate gun restrictions in states. The Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was ratified on December 15, 1791. It was one of the first 10 amendments, known as the Bill of Rights, ratified at the same time. The Second Amendment is a traditional and historic amendment. It comes from the 1689 English Bill of Rights. In America, we are similar with our history of English culture, beginning with case law, federal power over gun laws, limits to state powers in the right to regulate guns. Every state is different. Case law reveals other rights in the nation. District of Columbia versus Heller, 2008. DC's banned handguns and would not register them. A police officer wanted to keep a firearm he used at work at home. McDonald versus Chicago, 2010. Chicago, hereinafter city, and the village of Oak Park, a Chicago suburb, have laws effectively banning handgun possession by almost all private citizens. New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin, 2022. Proper cause distinguished from the community, not a high crime area. Other extraordinary danger. Denied, then reversed. Justice Scalia and Justice Stevens discussed. A. Justice Scalia, a well and regulated militia. Prefatory clause, prologue. Stevens said the use of arms in a regulated militia. Scalia said, yes, we need a militia for tyranny at home, but B. The right of the people, operative clause, shall not be infringed. It means individuals can have and bear, keep and bear, weapons that is not exclusively military. A pre-existing right to English men set forth in the 1689 English Bill of Rights was intended by the Second Amendment, right to defend yourself at home. The 2 clauses go together. Justice Scalia discussed the federal law which applies to states under the 14th Amendment's Due Process Clause. States are bound by the Second Amendment. State police powers are under the 10th Amendment, which states the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. The right to bear arms is not unlimited. States have the power to regulate it. Justice Scalia in Heller said that dangerous and unusual weapons are not protected, but weapons common use at the time. States can impose laws on conditions and qualifications on the sale of arms. California is very restrictive in the type of weapon that can be purchased in its state. Politically, rights and freedoms as a Black, Indigenous, North American, West culture. My perspective considers my protected classes. I see through the eyes of history in terms of the Emancipation Proclamation. 13th Amendment, abolitionists, Civil War heroes, colonial laws, Black codes, Jim Crow laws, Black Panther movement, and NRA. The next generation and the survival of my people's rights and freedoms as a Black, Indigenous, non-reservation, North American, West culture. According to Stephen Halbrook, a right of the people or a privilege of the few. The 14th Amendment was understood to protect the right to keep and bear arms from state infringement. Under the postbellum Black codes, officials had discretion over whether to issue licenses to freedmen to carry arms outside of their homes, and even to keep arms at all. Those who ratified the 14th Amendment considered such laws to violate the right to bear arms. MacDonald noted that a state law requiring a license to have a firearm that an official had discretion to limit or deny was typical of what the 14th Amendment would invalidate. For example, MacDonald pointed out that the 14th Amendment would have invalidated a Mississippi law providing that no freedman, free Negro, or mulatto not in the military service of the United States government and not licensed so to do by the Board of Police of his or her county shall keep or carry firearms of any kind. Deprivations of freed slaves' Second Amendment rights featured in debates over bills leading to enactment of the Freedmen's Bureau Act and the Civil Rights Act of 1866. While at this point the disarming of blacks was taking place more by the Klan than by state action, a report recalled the state laws of 1865-66, under which a free person of color was only a little lower than a slave, and hence forbidden to carry or have arms. Those that fought in the Civil War, while other soldiers kept their rifles, blacks were disarmed by their respective states, etc. After passage of the act, President Ulysses S. Grant reported that KKK groups continued to deprive colored citizens of the right to bear arms and of the right to a free ballot. What did my ancestors die for? It will not be in vain. Social rights and freedoms as a woman. Social rights and freedoms as a woman. Gun violence against women, especially Black women, has been documented. 1 in 3 U.S. women experience physical violence, sexual violence, and/or stalking by a current or former intimate partner over the course of their lifetimes, with historically marginalized women shown as the greatest risk. 56.6% of multiracial women, 45.1% of Black women, according to National Collaborative on Gun Violence Research 2022, less than 0.5%, while they are victims of gun violence by men. Women are 7 to 10 times more likely to be killed by men or police, respectively, than killed by gun suicide. MappingPoliceViolence.org, 2025. Taking away a woman's right to conceal and carry is outrageous and against everything the Second Amendment stands for, the right to defend yourself. Economic head of household. Where do my tax dollars go as head of household in California? They go towards what I vote for, is the expectation. California gun laws. According to California's Gun Reduction Program 2025, $10 million in grant money has been afforded to prioritize reducing cities with high per capita population of armed prohibited persons from firearms. The Office of Gun Violence Prevention includes seizing firearms from dangerous individuals using the Armed and Prohibited Persons System, prosecution of firearms trafficking cases, and defense of California's common sense gun laws. Dangerous individuals include individuals convicted of felony offenses or certain domestic violence misdemeanors, 2025. The dangerous individuals are now everyone and located in sensitive places, which are almost everywhere in California. The case in my local area is Senate Bill 2. On December 26, 2023, a federal judge blocked the new California gun control law from taking effect on January 1st, 2024. A couple days later, a federal appeals court overturned that decision while the issue was being litigated. John Donegan wrote that SB 2 is now a law. He stated that the law prevailed after a federal court suspended an injunction issued by a judge who concluded the state's law was a repugnant violation of the U.S. Constitution's Second Amendment, 2024. Judge Carney argued that the law turned almost every place in California a sensitive place. The Guardian, 2024. December 30th, 2023, a panel of the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals granted an administrative stay. The bill is now law following the case setting precedents. New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruen. In that case, the summary stated that one must show a necessity to carry their gun outside of their home, 2022. The new Democrat-led California law limits concealed and carry citizens. Kern County Sheriff Youngblood joked, "It's not too good these days. Kern County has never had a homicide by a CCW holder." Contrastingly, gun violence against women, especially black women, has been documented. Women should carry guns when they leave their home. But this is only California. One could always move. California uses its state police powers to ban carrying guns openly and types of common guns one can access. In Nevada, a citizen can wear a holstered handgun that is not concealed by clothing, usually on the hip or the leg, and can carry a rifle or shotgun, generally slung across the shoulder, according to the LV Defense Group, 2025. But Nevada state law does require permits for carrying concealed weapons. In summary, according to California's Gun Reduction Program 2025, $10 million in grant money has been afforded to prioritize reducing cities with high per capita population of armed prohibited persons from firearms. It would seem this would not be in alignment with tradition nor history, since New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruen argued that one required showing proper cause, distinguished from the community, not a high crime area, but other extraordinary danger. In that case, the summary stated that one must show a necessity to carry their gun outside of their home, 2022. California's Gun Reduction Program, 2025, afforded to prioritize reducing cities with high per capita population of armed prohibited. Is this because of high crime and not self-defense? Traditionally, Scalia argued in District of Columbia versus Heller, 2008, that there was a pre-existing right to English men set forth in the 1689 English Bill of Rights, which was intended by the Second Amendment, right to defend yourself at home. Next, it was for a well-regulated militia not to reduce crime in high crime areas. It would seem out of the history and tradition. Self-defense would look at data that reveals who needs to defend themselves in their homes, then afford them the right to defend themselves by allow them to carry and have arms. For example, 56.6% of multiracial women, 45.1% of black women, according to National Collaborative on Gun Violence Research 2022, less than 0.5%, while they are victims of gun violence by men. Women are 7 to 10 times more likely to be killed by men or police, respectively, than killed by gun suicide, mappingpoliceviolence.org, 2025. Nevada differs because they stick to history and tradition when a high-populated, high-crime area like Las Vegas allows people to carry common guns without a special permit. This leaves a lot open for discussion when someone is black, historically marginalized, a woman, or the next generation. It also leaves the question open of who and how are people classified as mentally defective. What if the next generation doesn't know the difference from someone being tired or stressed out to being labeled mentally defective? It looks like we will continue this in the next episode. Have a blessed day. I am Dr. Truth Atkins. This is 8 Degrees of Yes.